On air, Ryan.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Hangout for the 5th week of Data Analytics and Learning MOOC. We're excited to have all of you with us for the 5th week of the course. This week, we are talking about prediction modeling, behavior detection, validation of prediction models, classification, regression. Seems like the week's kind of gotten a slow start, which is maybe a good thing since we were missing a file for our walkthrough, but that's now fixed. So you should have everything you need to succeed. This week we're doing things a little bit differently. We have some assignments that are step-by-step activities where you go through the steps of the activity and you get feedback at every step about whether you're doing it right. There's a walkthrough where there's nothing really to get wrong. You just go through the steps to learn the tool RapidMiner, which is my personal favorite tool for prediction modeling. And there's also 2 assignments where you can get things right and wrong. The assignments are provided courtesy of Vincent Alavin's Cognitive Tutor Authoring Tools, Carolyn's colleague at Carnegie Mellon. He's been doing great online intelligent tutoring systems for years, and we're excited to have the, I think, the first intelligent tutor-based MOOC assignments. I'm not sure about that, but either way, great to have Vincent's stuff, and also courtesy of Elle Wang, my colleague at Teachers College, who helped to author them. So it's good to see you on the forums. I hope to see a little more on the forums, and Carolyn, do you have anything you would you want to say, or?
Just that I'm really excited about this unit that you're teaching, Ryan, for a couple of reasons. First, I think it's exciting to see how you have integrated these cognitive tutor authoring tool exercises in your unit, and I'm anxious to see how those work out for students. We know that there was an OLI course on psychology jointly offered by Carnegie Mellon and Georgia Tech that included some activities kind of like this, and based on analyses we've seen of the data, the students who participated in those activities learned significantly more, and they were more successful in maintaining their presence in the course as well. So I have every confidence that we'll see the same positive effect in this class. But I'd also like to point out to students that the content of this unit provides a really nice foundation for the text mining unit that comes later. So I hope you're all working real hard and keeping up with all the materials so you'll be fully prepared. And I can't wait till my unit starts so I can work with you all too.
That's a great point. And so my unit on prediction modeling will be 2 weeks long. After that, we're going to have Carolyn's unit on text mining. I'm really excited about that. I think it's going to be really great stuff. As we go through, I noticed some comments on the forum today saying, my gosh, it's so technical in week 5. There's equations. And that's true. The first 4 weeks were very much kind of getting into the introduction, getting into the flow of things, using tools that kind of are more in the exploratory data analysis space. Weeks 5 and 6 are going to get a little more technical. With some, real data mining algorithms. That said, you can ignore the math if you want to. It's not required. And then I think weeks 7 and 8 are really going to get a little more technical still and get into some of the rich power that you can do with text mining. So I think that'll be really exciting.
I just wanted to add that I think the text mining unit is kind of technical in a different way. So there won't actually be a lot of math in my unit. What there will be is thinking a lot about language and how it works. I think a huge mistake that people make in text mining is, and I think that this actually, Ryan can talk about this too, as he's talking about behavior modeling. It really isn't about the math per se. The most important thing is insight into the data, knowing something about the data that you're modeling so that you can represent it in an appropriate way. Because machine learning algorithms are not magic. They can only find a pattern that's in the data, and the only way that the pattern is apparent enough in the data for the algorithms to find it is if it's represented in a way that brings out those aspects of the data that are salient for what you're trying to model. And maybe you'd like to say a few words about that from your side, Brian. I'd be really anxious to learn more about behavior modeling.
Well, you're absolutely right, Carolyn. I like everything you said. It's right on because, as you pointed out, to do text mining, you've got to know something about linguistics. And to do behavior modeling, you've got to know something about behavior and behavioral psychology. It's not just a matter of, you get the log data, you throw it at the wall, you see what sticks, like spaghetti, cooking spaghetti with my daughter. Instead, it's much more of a craft process of like making a fine chocolate. Folks like Sal Pedro have concretely shown that when you explicitly select features based both on how they fit the data, but also domain experts' opinions, you get better models. And Luc Paquette, who's a postdoc I have the honor of working with, Luc has done some really nice stuff showing that, in fact, explicitly building cognitive modeling into the process of distilling meaning from your data before you ever get to the machine learning algorithm leads to significantly better models, even on problems that people have been working on for a decade. So it doesn't make it, I don't think, into the lectures, but it's really worth checking out Luc's stuff because he worked on models of gaming the system, which I will be talking about next week, I think. And in that work, Luc was able to improve our models from 40% better than chance to 60% better than chance by really looking at, interviewing and working with domain experts. So you're completely right, Carolyn. The real art of it, to the extent I talk about algorithms and models and go a little into the math, it's to understand what you're doing on the algorithmic part. But the algorithmic part really isn't the important part of the process. A lot of good algorithms will work. And as some people will note, a lot of the algorithms I like are 20, 30 years old. That's okay. In particular because educational data often has types of noise, bias, and size that make those the right choices. But the really important thing is to know how you're pulling the meaning out of the data, whether you do it using Excel, OpenRefine, Tableau, R, basic code in Java. However you turn your raw data into meaningful features, that's really the part where we get at the meaning of the data. So thank you so much, Carolyn, for bringing that point out. One other point I'd like to make is, if you take only one thing out of my 2 weeks of the course, I actually think pay attention to the lectures on validity, because I really think that making sure that your models are valid in multiple ways and at multiple levels is absolutely key. One of the things that you see too much of still is models that worked on one data set because they just really fit to the noise. And they don't work on new students, new content, new populations. We really want to be careful to develop models that don't replicate the mistakes made in past generations of building a model on one group and believing it's for everybody. It's really important to check your population validity. So that's one of the things I'm particularly excited about, and I hope that we can have a good, vigorous discussion on the forum about those issues. So I guess I was looking here for the Q&A, but it doesn't look. It looks like Q&A is disabled for this chat, and I'm not a Google Hangouts expert. Carolyn, is there any way for people to ask us questions?
I think that George tends to monitor the Twitter stream.
Let us do that. I will look for Twitter with hashtag DALMOOC.
While he's doing that, I just want to reiterate the importance of these validity questions. First of all, it can be really fun to challenge yourself to think about all of the possible validity flaws that can crop up in how you design your experiments with machine learning. And in the course that I teach at CMU, we spend a huge amount of time going over and trying to sensitize ourselves to all of the possible mistakes that can be made. And it comes largely back to the idea that Ryan mentioned about understanding the structure of your data, how there are these group level effects, subpopulation level effects, and they can lead to overfitting. And sometimes that's where a little bit of insight into the math also comes in, to understand why that structure in the data could lead your model to learn spurious regularities that actually make it look like there are features that are really helping out, but are really actually only fitting to a particular group or subpopulation within your data set. So, if I can just throw in a pointer to a resource people might want to take a look at. Maybe you even mentioned this, Ryan. Here, let me just grab it. I highly recommend this book by Witten. It is, this book is so nice because you can get into the math if you want to, but it has a lot of qualitative descriptions in it, and it steps you very, very carefully, step by step, through all of that math if you want to learn about it really slowly. And it really has everything in it that you need from a methodology and technical standpoint to use machine learning well. So I highly recommend this book. I use it in my machine learning class.
It's a great book, and I have to confess, actually, some of you know me well enough to know that Ian Witten is a personal hero of mine. Like, I want to be Ian Witten when I grow up. He's so cool. And his book is great. He and Carolyn are going to be teaching a MOOC in the future, I think, which people should totally check out. So I see that there was a comment on the Twittersphere by Apostolus K, who said, "Can you eliminate overfit?" Sadly, no. All models overfit. And that's completely right. Every model overfits. The question is, can you figure out what you're overfit to? Can you mitigate the overfitting? There are models that overfit more and models that overfit less, and there are ways that you can test how much you're overfit. But yeah, overfitting where you fit to noise rather than signal, you'll never get completely away from it, but you can make progress on it, and you can assess it, and that's one of the key things. You know, we really want to make sure that we're overfit in ways that don't cause our model to be completely useless. Let's see if there's anything else here. Doesn't look like any other new posts on DALMOOC, but I might have a couple notifications. No, not relevant. And I guess I'll really quickly check the Facebook page also for DALMOOC. So many ways for people to communicate these days. It's a little overwhelming.
As long as Ryan mentioned that idea of so many different ways to communicate, I'd just like to point out we've been doing a comparison across the different areas for social communication within the course to see what's different about how people are using it. And it's so fascinating to see that if you compare how much reasoning gets articulated within the discussions and break it out also by topic focus, social or not, whether it's focused on course procedures or not, whether it's focused on the course content or not, what we find is that actually the highest concentration of reasoning articulation is coming out in the Bazaar chats, so I encourage people to continue to participate in those. Interestingly, though, we see surprisingly a lot of articulation of reasoning and just sense making about the course and how it's working in the Twitter stream. And I wasn't, kind of an advocate of Twitter before this course, but another fascinating thing is just the way students are using Twitter as sort of a bridging between these different communication media. So it's just been really interesting to see.
I agree completely. Actually, I'm really excited to learn about the data from Bazaar for these weeks and to learn what I can learn from it. When I taught my first MOOC last year, I learned a ton. I'm learning a ton in this MOOC. Thank you all for joining us on this adventure. It's really great. In fact, I think I'm going to go into Bazaar in a minute and see what virtual Ryan has to say. Let's see. So I guess I'll just really quickly scan one more place, which is the forums. See if there's anything going on there. But Carolyn, I guess I don't have anything specific more to add. Do you have anything else?
One thing that really surprises me about this course, maybe it shouldn't be a surprise, is how diverse the backgrounds of the students are who are taking this course. We have some students who are really coming to learning analytics fresh without a foundation in programming or statistics or substantial data analysis, but then we have professionals in various fields of analytics and not even all learning focused. Some people who are business analytics or even medical informatics. we've been fascinated to see the wide variety. I'm curious to hear. I wonder if there's anybody out there who might be able to tweet about this. Who's from a different field of analytics, to see what they have noticed so far about learning analytics in particular that stands out as interesting to them. Have you noticed anything in the forums or in discussions with maybe even people who took your data mining MOOC?
You know, it's interesting because I do think that there are these joint threads, because the one danger about kind of getting together across different fields is the whole, but wait, method X is the best in my area, so it must be the best everywhere. What do you mean you don't use support vector machines? Everyone knows they're the best. What do you mean you don't use deep learning? You must be behind the times and bad. But the other side of it is you can learn so much from other areas. You know, diagnostic metrics, which came from medical informatics, motif analysis, which came from bioinformatics. There's so many great things going on. Process analysis from business analytics. I actually had the pleasure of visiting a business analytics department here in Moscow yesterday, and it was so cool to hear about all the great stuff going on in analyzing business processes. So, yeah, I echo what Carolyn says. It would be great to hear what people think as they are coming on in. And there just came a comment through the Twitsphere, which is that someone says they're actually still a few weeks off the pace, but loving digging into the different tools. And there are a lot of great tools. That is one thing I've noticed that's a little different about this MOOC than the previous one I was in. We've kind of made the pacing a little more flexible, which means it's not quite the same degree everybody's together. So, you know, definitely keep at your own pace, do what you're interested in. You don't have to do it all. Pick the parts you're most interested in as you go. We'll still be on the forums in 3 weeks to talk about whatever part, and keep the conversation going.
Yeah, I have to agree with Ryan. Actually, the truth is that every week in a MOOC, there's a new wave of students that join and start from the beginning. And what we see is that the students who come later have a much higher dropout rate. And what we suspect is that students feel a lot of pressure to come in and catch up right away. But the truth is that these MOOC resources, they're here, and you can move through them at your own pace. There's no reason why you have to be with everyone else, but at the same time, you should know you're probably really not alone. That even in the last week of the course, there are a substantial number of people who are just joining for the first time. And if you just make it through week 1 of the material, at least you learned something from it. That's great. That's what it's all about.
After And a lot of people, especially in the first week or two, are kind of worried about whether they were doing it right. And I got an email after I taught my first MOOC from a graduate student at Notre Dame who said, I watched one video in your course, and I used that method in a paper. And that, I thought, was the best accomplishment I could ever hope for from a MOOC. So, take it a la carte. We're happy to provide you a lot of experiences which you can choose from. And I know George has had some very eloquent things to say along those lines, so I'm trying to channel George, trying to wear as nice a suit as George, So I don't see anything else coming through the tweetosphere at us, but I guess, I hope everyone has a good week. We'll be doing another Hangout sometime next week. I will be back in the United States, so it'll probably be more at our usual time, I think. And, from Moscow and Pittsburgh, I guess, I hope everyone has a great week. Enjoy the MOOC.
Bye all.
See you later.